Okay, you got your chicks hatched, or you bought chicks and you brought them home. So what's next? The obvious things are food and water, but there's one more thing that's critical, and that's warmth. So we're going to cover some of that now. The first thing I'll talk about is food. There's a few different foods we use. I try to stick with Purina Start and Grow Medicated. I have a bag of it back here. So this food, a lot of people see that term medicated, and they get the false impression that there are antibiotics or hormones added to this food, and that's not the case. There are no antibiotics, there are no hormones added to this chick feed. What it is it has some prebiotics and probiotics, as well as some medication in it to help stop a common disease called, and I'm going to butcher this, but it's called coccidias. I don't even want to. Let me just spell it for you, because I don't know how to say it. Coccidicsis, whatever that is. But it's real common, and you'll know you have it, or your chicks have it, when you see blood in their stool. Then that's a really good sign that that's what they have. Well, this has medication in it to help stop that from happening. So I like that. I have lost chicks before to it, actually a number of them. It happens quite often, especially when they get out in the dirt in a pen. So this is the food we typically use. But there are other good foods out there. Do More Chick 24% Starter is an excellent food. I have some here. Sometimes our supplier is out of this food over here, so I keep a bag of Do More Chick Starter on hand. Another excellent food. It's not medicated, but it doesn't have to be. Medicated foods is just an option. It's one that I choose. So the next thing, of course, water. You're going to need water for your chicks. This is a little bit larger water. I'll move them to this one when they get to be about 3 or 4 weeks old. Until then, I stick with a small one, this size right here. And that way I don't have to worry about them making too big of a mess or drowning themselves in their own water. And I'll typically just take a base to one of those small waters and use that as a feeder for the time being. Now once they get a little older, I will move them to the larger feeder, but when they're small, that little feeder in there seems to do just fine. It'll last them a couple days, sometimes 3. But when they go to the bigger brood box over here behind me, which I'll show you in a minute, then that is when I'll go to the larger feeders. And I should mention, this is a pretty popular feeder. It's a metal feeder with a spinner on top. And the idea is that they can't stand on it and drop stool into their food. This kind of makes them fall off and they don't get on it. Now, this is just me, and it's happened to me. I don't know if it's happened to other people as well. I assume it has. But I've had chicks get stuck underneath this spinner. And 2, now granted it's only 2 out of a lot, but I have had 2 die trapped underneath this spinner. So I don't use this anymore until they're older. I don't use this on anything less than, say, 6 weeks old. So as far as the water goes, right away, so when it comes to the water, I know a lot of people like to use apple cider vinegar. It's a great additive for chickens. I don't like using this with my chicks until they get older, which actually I don't use apple cider vinegar very often. A lot of people swear by it, and I know it works, but I prefer vitamins added to my water. This little jar comes from Tractor Supply. It's just vitamins with electrolytes. It's not very expensive. I want to say it's $6 or $7, and this little jar will last you a very long time. So this is what I prefer to use, and I start this on about day 5 or 6. I'll start adding these vitamins at half dosage to their water. Now, a couple medications I always recommend people keep on hand. There's really 3 that I would always have on hand. One of them is going to be Tylosin or Tylen 50. This is going to be your antibiotic. So if one of your chicks or one of your chickens gets a respiratory problem, they have runny nose, they have watery eyes, you hear them sneeze, anything like that, or even a wheezing, or sometimes they gasp and it looks like they're gasping for breath, that's where you're going to want this Tylosin and Tylen 50. This is my go-to antibiotic for something like that. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but typically this will, if you catch it early enough, this will save your chicken or chick from dying from a respiratory illness. Now the Tylen, you can either get it as an injectable or a water-soluble powder. The injectable can be given through an injection, of course, or you can give it orally at night. Just put a couple drops in their mouth and let them drink it. Or you can get the water-soluble and simply add it to their water. Now both of these have their advantages and disadvantages. The advantage to the Tylen 50 injectable is you know exactly how much of this each chicken is getting. If you have a chicken and it looks like it has a pretty bad respiratory illness and you're worried, this is what you're going to want to do. And injection is the best way to get this into their system quickly. Otherwise, you can do drops either when they coop up at night or when you let them out in the morning, and you can do one at a time. A side note, don't give this to only the chick that appears sick. Whatever other chickens are in that coop with that chicken that's sick probably already has whatever it has, because they have community water, they have community food, and those respiratory illnesses can spread very quickly. So if you do have one or two that are sick in a coop full of chickens or chicks, dose them all at the same time, and that way you're just going to nip it in the bud of it spreading and then them others showing symptoms. So the advantage to the Tylosin 50 water soluble powder is if you're catching it early and you have time, you can just simply add it to their water, which is easy, and give them a 5-day regimen of this. But the downfall is you don't know how much water each chicken drinks. So they're not all going to get the same dosage. You don't even know if they're going to get enough or too much. It all depends on how much water they drink. But it does work. I do use it. I use it more often than not, actually, because I usually catch it early. And you can treat the whole flock really easily too. You just put it in their water. You just put 1 teaspoon per gallon, but you do need to freshen the water daily. You don't want to make a whole big batch of it and put it out in the water and then leave it in there for a week thinking it's going to work. You need to mix a little, even if you have to do half a gallon at a time, do it daily and keep it fresh. Okay, so that was the Tylosin. The next thing that I like to keep is I keep Safeguard Goat Wormer. Now, this is 3 mLs per gallon if you're going to do it in their water, which if you're treating for worms on an annual basis, which is what I do in the spring, then you can just add it to their water and they'll all get wormed that way. If you have a chicken that has worms and you're in a little bit of a pinch and you need to get those worms taken care of quickly, then you might need to orally dose this with a syringe. But really good stuff to keep on hand. You're going to need it, I promise. Okay, so the last thing that you're going to want to keep on hand, and this is a big one, is Corid. This is for coccidiosis, whatever that word that I butchered with this feed that has the medication this feed is for, this chick starter, that word, that's what this is for. And I really need to learn how to say it. I don't know why I just refuse to learn how to pronounce it, but I don't know. But your chickens are gonna get it. It's just a matter, it's not if, it's when. They're going to get it. You're going to see blood in their stool, and this is going to be your go-to medicine for that. Corid. It clears up very quickly. Within just a day or two, it'll clear it up. And the great thing is that now with this, you can treat the whole flock. But the thing about that disease or that bacteria that they get out of the dirt is that once they've had it, I believe they're immune to it. So once you treat them with Corid and you get it cleared up, they shouldn't catch it again. Shouldn't. I'm no vet, so don't take my word for all this, but that's my understanding. Okay, so we've covered food, we've covered water, very basic. We've even covered medication. But the last thing I want to cover is keeping them warm. A heat source is critical for young chicks. Now the go-to heat source for a lot of people, and it's probably because it's cheap, it's probably because it's easy, and it's probably also a lot of people do it because a lot of people do it, and that is a heat lamp. I also used a heat lamp when I first started raising chicks, and I gravitated away from this, and I can tell you that I will never use a heat lamp again, and there's a couple reasons why. The biggest one is that I keep my brood boxes in my garage, and I don't want this on when I'm not home. I mean, this is a 250 watt heat lamp bulb. It gets extremely hot, and yeah, it's in a cage. Yeah, it's not supposed to be able to touch anything, but you know what? I'm not taking a chance on this. When I leave the house, I don't want this on. So, and I don't even want it on when me and my family are indoors sleeping at night, and this is out in my garage going. That being said, I don't even know that I'd want it in an outdoor wooden shed unattended. But another disadvantage to it is it can be a little tricky to get the temperature correct at the level that the chicks are at. You have to raise it and lower it and use a thermometer to figure out where you need to be. Because if you get it too close, you're gonna bake your chicks and they're gonna overheat. And if you get it too far away, they could get too cold. So it requires some adjustment. And the last thing I would say about this is there's a condition called pasty butt that chicks get. And basically all that is their excrement dries up around their vent because they're overheated. And this basically just bakes their excrement around their vent, and it creates a blockage. And a lot of people lose chicks to pasty butt. Sounds silly, yeah, but fact is it kills a lot of chicks. And so almost everybody I know who loses chicks to pasty butt are using these. It's just too easy to overheat your chick using these heat lamps. I'm not a fan of them, as you've probably guessed by now, but if this is what you have and this is what you choose to use, it works. There's thousands of people who do it every day. Those are just the reasons I don't use it. So when it's cold outside, or when it's going to be below, say, 70 degrees outside at night, and I have chicks in the garage, I will supplement my main heat source, which I'll go over in a moment, with this. And all this is just a bathroom heater. And I set it over my metal wire cover that goes over my thing. I just lay it flat down onto it so it doesn't touch anything material. So I don't have to really worry about it catching fire. It doesn't get that hot. I keep it on the low setting. But to go with this, what I'd have, and this would work with a heat lamp. It works with the little bathroom heater like I have down there. It really works with any heat source. But what this is a controller that most people buy off of Amazon who homebrew beer. But it works great for maintaining the temperatures in your brood box. And what this is it's just a temperature controller. It has two outlets. So you plug the temperature controller into an outlet, and then you have two outlets that come off of it. One is for a cooling and one is for heating. And of course, you're not going to use the cooling source outlet. I guess if you're making beer, you would use that for a refrigerator or something. I don't know. We're only interested in the heating source outlet. So what you do is you set your temperature. Say you set it at 90 degrees for your chicks. You set your variance, which I usually say 3 degrees. So what happens is when this reaches 87 degrees, it's going to kick on this heat source outlet and your heater is going to come on, or your heat lamp, whatever it is you're using. And then when it goes up to 93 degrees, that 3 degree variance above your set temperature, it's going to kick your heat source back off. And it just keeps cycling it on and off, and it's maintaining that 87 to 93 degree temperature. And it does that with a temperature probe that you just hang down into your brood box. Don't let it touch the sides or the bottom, and keep it away so your heat source isn't shining or blowing directly onto it. And these things work great. I highly recommend this. especially if you're using one of those two types of heat, either a little heater or a heat lamp. This one is an Inkbird. I got it off of Amazon. I'll put a link to it in the description of the video. There are a lot of the brands out there. This one I can tell you have had for quite a while. It works great. Never let me down. Now for my preferred heat source, I use these. It's just a heating base, and this one is made by Titan Incubators, and it's just a square. It just sits in the bottom of your brood box, and on the underside there's a heating plate. It doesn't get so hot that you can't touch it. You don't want to hold your hand on it. It's pretty warm. Well, it's hot, but it's not going to catch anything on fire, I guess is my point. But it has adjustable legs, so as your chickens grow, you adjust these legs up and down because you don't want their head to be touching the bottom of this heater on this metal part. So as they grow, you just simply adjust it. It has little fine adjustments. You just move your legs up and down. Sometimes if I have varying ages, which I do often in my brood box, what I'll do is I'll leave the back set low and I'll raise these legs in the front and have it kind of sitting on an angle like this. And the bigger chicks can get over here and the little chicks get back here, and it actually works fairly well. But I love this. The thing about it is you just set it in your brood box and forget it. You don't have to worry about cycling the power on and off. You don't have to worry about it overheating your chicks. You don't have to worry about, like I said, put it in the bottom of your brood box, plug it in, forget about it. This one is over a year old, still works great. Highly recommend it. There's multiple different brands of this. This is the one I have. So I'm just going to give you a little bit closer look at that little heater. As you can see, I just set it back in there, and as soon as you set it in there, everybody just runs underneath it. They love being underneath this little heater. They feel safe under there. I guess it's kind of instinct for them to get underneath just like they would a hen. So, and then when you set it back down, they'll just run right back underneath it. So, as a matter of fact, that one's just about needs to be adjusted. Looks like their heads are about to touch the bottom. So I'll probably go ahead and adjust it up a little bit. Okay, so brood boxes. This brood box is one that I built myself. It's just a 2x2 brood box. I made it from the pallet that a hot water heater came on, and I put some sides on it, and I built a little lid for it just so my free range hens, if they come in here, they can't jump down in the box with my chicks. Over here I have a larger brood box which has a lid on it, and I rigged some outlets in it and stuff to put my heaters on the inside, and I cut some holes in the top and just put chicken wire over them, but nothing fancy. It's a real simple, and these are usually pretty easy to find on Craigslist. I picked this one up I think for $40 maybe, but makes a great brood box. It's about 3 feet by 6 feet, so there's tons of space in there. So I'll use the small brood box until they get to be about 2 weeks old, and then I'll move, and then they're going to need some room for their legs to stretch, and that's when I move them over to the large brood box. So hopefully with this video I've given everybody enough information to get started. This growing chickens is such a great hobby. It's great for kids, and it's a lot of fun actually. Our hobby turned into somewhat of a business now at this point. I'll leave you with a little shot of a couple of my Bielefelder chicks. These are German breeds. These are 2 females. I know what they are based on their colorations at birth. So I have a bunch more in the brood box over there, as well as some other breeds. This is probably one of my favorite. So this is the goal right here. This is what you want. Healthy, lively little chicks that are going to grow up and be awesome egg producers. So if you like the video, please like and subscribe. And until the next time, I'll see y'all in the next video. Thanks for watching.